Dear students, today we are going to start class 9 history chapter 2 socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution part 2. Students, in this part we will cover introduction, support for socialism, trade unions and socialism, the Russian Revolution, the Russian Empire in 1914, economy and society. Support for socialism. Students, as we have seen in the previous part, in the beginning of the chapter, the 19th century was an age of social change. As the changes we have seen in France, because of French Revolution, the people, they brought the changes in France. They got their rights like freedom, equality. They got other natural rights. By getting inspiration from the French Revolution, the other parts of Europe also started revolution to get their rights. In this way, France became inspiration for other European countries. Students, in that we have seen the idea of socialism. Students, socialism, in that we have seen that socialism is an economic and political system. It is an economic theory of social organizations. It believed that the means of making, moving, and trading wealth should be owned or controlled by the workers. This means the money belongs to the people who make things instead of a group of private owners. Students, this idea emerged in European countries because socialists were against private property and felt it to be the root cause of all social ills. They felt that though property provided employment, it gave personal gains to property owners, not to the one who contributed to make the property productive. Socialists wanted that landowners should pay attention to collective interests rather than their own personal interests. In this way, socialists wanted the equal distribution of resources. They were against the private property. We have seen that the people, they wanted to bring socialism, but their strategies, their ideas were different from each other as they were categorized such as liberals, radicals, and conservatives. They all wanted to bring the socialism, but their ways were different. Their ideas were different from each other. They all wanted to bring the socialism in their own way. So, they were having different ideas regarding the socialism, how to bring that idea. Students, after that we discussed about the industrial revolution. That was also one of the big reasons behind the Russian Revolution. We have seen that industries started in towns. In England, the industrial revolution began. Because of industrial revolution, many men and women, they started coming to towns. Industrial revolution brought men, women and children to factories. Working hours were often long and wages were poor. That was a miserable condition of workers. Unemployment was common, particularly during times of low demand for industrial goods. Housing and sanitation problems were growing rapidly. Almost all industries were properties of individuals. Liberals and radicals searched for solutions for these issues. So these were the problems we can see during the Industrial Revolution. Two classes emerged because of that. One was capitalist and the next was working class. So in this way, two classes emerged because of Industrial Revolution, capitalists and workers. The idea of socialism was supported by Karl Marx. By the late 19th century, after the work of Karl Marx and his collaborator Friedrich Engels, socialism had come to signify opposition to capitalism and advocacy for a post capitalist system based on some form of social ownership of the means of production. So, here Karl Marx also opposed private property. He wanted a communist society. Students, there was a spread of socialist ideas throughout Europe and the United States of America by the later half of the 19th century. The main objective of the socialist movement was to curtail the ill effects of the capitalist system and to bring reforms in the miserable condition of the workers. Students, to fulfill this idea, First International in 1864 was formed by Karl Marx. He organized the International Working Men's Association, which became popular as the First International. With the formation of the First International, socialism started emerging as a world movement. The main aim of the First International was to establish the authority of the working class. The Second International was formed after the death of Karl Marx on July 14, 1889. That was 6 years later after the death of Karl Marx. All the socialist parties of different countries were affiliated to it. At the time of its formation, it was decided that workers in all countries of the world would participate in a large international demonstration to be organized on 1st May. Since then, 1st May is observed as Workers' Day and a day of solidarity of the workers throughout the world. By 1914, the Second International included the socialist parties of 27 countries. Students, by the close of 19th century, there were socialist parties in every European state. They commanded the loyalty of working men, a considerable number of intellectuals, trade unions and newspapers. They demanded the reduction of working hours of the workers and the right to vote. In Germany and Britain, associations were formed to fight for better living conditions of workers. Trade unions and socialism. Students, workers in many European countries, particularly in England, France, and Germany, started organizing associations to fight for better living and working conditions. They set up funds in order to help members in the hour of need. They demanded a reduction of working hours and the right to vote. These associations in Germany worked closely with the Social Democratic Party and helped it to win parliamentary seats. Between March and May 1871, there was a popular uprising in Paris. Consequently, the town council of Paris was taken over by people's government consisting of workers, ordinary people, professionals, political activists, and others. Though it was ultimately crushed by government troops, but the socialists celebrated the event all over the world as a prelude to a socialist revolution. Students, firstly, it was associated with workers' red flag adopted by the com- comrades, revolutionaries in Paris. Secondly, Marseille, originally written as a war song in 1792, became a symbol of the commune of the struggle for liberty. So in this way, people they started making their organizations, associations, trade unions to fight for their rights. Many parties were formed. By 1905, the socialist trade unions had established a Labour Party in England and a Socialist Party in France, but till 1914, the socialists did not succeed in forming a government in any country of Europe, but they were strong enough to form parliamentary politics and to shape their ideas into laws. The government continued to be run by conservatives, liberals, and radicals. It was first in Russia that revolution of 1917 brought the socialists completely in power. So students, in this way we have seen people, those were workers, they started making their associations, trade unions to fight for their rights. The Russian Revolution. Students, as has already been stated, the Russian Revolution of 1917 was the first successful socialist revolution in world history. The socialist revolution, according to Marxian theory of revolution, was to take place first in advanced industrial societies because of the maturing of the contradictions of capitalism, but it is strange that it occurred in a backward industrial country like Russia. Here, the fall of monarchy in February 1917 and the subsequent event of October are normally called the Russian Revolution. Students, these two incidents, that is February Revolution 1917 and October Revolution 1917, these are very much important in Russian Revolution. So students, we have seen that the Russian Revolution had taken place in these two phases. Now let us see the Russian Empire in 1914. In 1914, Russia and its empire was ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. The Russian Empire included modern-day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. It stretched to the Pacific and comprised modern-day Central Asian states as well as Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. Orthodox Christianity was the majority religion in Russia, but Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, and Buddhists also lived in Russian Empire. So students, this is the Russian Empire in 1914. Tsar Nicholas was the king during that time. The Tsars in Russia ruled the highly autocratic manner. They believed in the divine theory of kingship and were not prepared to put a check on their unlimited powers and privileges. Tsar Nicholas, during whose regime the Bolshevik Revolution broke out, was an inefficient and short-sighted person. He was a ruthless ruler having no concern with administration or the welfare of his subjects. Students, Tsar Nicholas was dominated by his German wife Tsarina Alexandra. She was under great influence of a hypocritical and corrupt saint Rasputin, the holy devil. So, students, the Russian Empire we have seen, Tsar Nicholas was the king. He believed in the divine rights of kingship and his ruling, his wife also. Economy and society. Students, economy and society, let us see. At the beginning of 20th century, about 85% of the Russian Empire's population was dependent on agriculture. Industry was found in some pockets like St. Petersburg and Moscow. Much of the production was done by craftsmen, but a large factories also existed. Most of the factories were set up in 1890s. This was the period when Russia's railway network was extended and foreign investment in industry increased. Students, as industrial revolution was taking place in Russia, because of that many industries were opened there. It was very easy to open the industries in Russia. So people, those were having capital, easily they were opening the industries, and 85% of Russian Empire's population was dependent on agriculture. Mostly people they were doing agriculture there. Most of the industry was owned by private individuals. The government kept an eye on large factories to ensure minimum wages and limited working hours. But the rulers were broken with impunity. Workers sometimes had to work up to 15 hours. Accommodation for workers could be in rooms or dormitories. They were not having good living conditions. They were living in congested rooms also. So, because of industrial revolution, there was profit for the capitalist, but it was not profitable for the workers. As we discussed, students, in Russia the industry was found in pockets. St. Petersburg and Moscow were the prominent industrial areas. With the expansion of railway network and the increase in foreign investment in industry, a number of factories were set up in 1890s. The foreign investors were interested only in making huge and quick profits without having any concern for the miserable conditions of the workers. The Russian capitalists too proved to be a source of exploitation of the workers, as they had to compete with the foreign investors with their insufficient capital. They reduced the wages of the workers. Whether factories were owned by foreigners or Russians, the conditions of workers were not satisfactory. Everyone was just doing the competition in the economy. They wanted to make more and more profit. No one was having the concern with the problems of the workers, whether they were the foreign investors or the local investors. Everyone was making, every industrialist was making the profit only. The workers had to work from 12 to 15 hours a day, but the wages they received for putting in such an untrained labor were much less. Means the working hours were much more, but wages were very less. So in this way, we can see the exploitation of workers during the Industrial Revolution. Now students, they were deprived of political rights and had no means of getting even minor reforms. As a consequence, they were compelled to lead a miserable and wretched life. The economic condition was so deplorable that they, as Marx rightly remarked, had nothing to lose but their chains. They were not having much more with them, so they was not having any fear to uh, leave anything or to lose anything. That's why it is said by Karl Marx, nothing to lose but their chains. The masses started getting awakened under the influence of Marxist ideology. They started forming their organizations and, in order to get their demands fulfilled, began to resort to strike. Students, so this is the condition we have seen here of the workers. Students, once will recall, the workers were divided into different social groups. As the economy and society we have seen that 85% of the empire's population was dependent on agriculture, and rest of the people, they were workers. Now student, workers were divided into different social groups. Some of them had strong links with their ancestral villages. Some others had permanently settled in the cities. Workers were divided by skill, and metal workers were on top of this hierarchy. Workers' dress and manners also manifested such divisions. Students, some were expert workers and some they were not trained, so they were divided in this criteria. So students, here, despite division, the workers often united to strike, work whenever there was some issue related to dismissal or work conditions. Such strikes frequently took place in the textile industry during 1896 to 1897 and in the metal industry during 1902. So students, workers, they were united and they fought for their rights as they were divided, but at the time of the need, they united, they were doing strikes. Now let us see the peasants. Peasants were also the parts of society. In villages, the peasants cultivated most of the land, but large properties were owned by the nobility, the crown, and the Orthodox Church. It means as workers were facing problems, same as peasants were also facing problems. Bearing a few exceptions, the peasants had no respect for the nobility. Nobles enjoyed their power and position because of their services to the Tsar. The peasants of Russia wanted the land of nobles to be given to them. They often refused to pay rent and even murdered landlords. Such incidents occurred on a large scale in South Russia in 1902, and in 1905 such incidents happened all over Russia. Russian peasants pooled their land together periodically. Their commune divided the land per the needs of individual families. Thus, they had a long tradition of working in close associations. As workers united, same as peasants also united. And we have seen they also faced the problems, and because of that, they refused to pay the rents. They wanted to take revenge from the landlords. They often refused to pay rents and even murdered landlords. And many incidents can be seen in the coming contents, how they had done the revolution, that is to get their rights. Now students, after the explanation, test your progress. before that, let us recall what we have seen in this part, that is the support for socialism. We have seen the industrial society, the problems. We have also discussed about the social structure in Russia. We have seen the trade unions, the contribution of Karl Marx to support the socialism. So all these things we discussed in this part. After this, there is need to check your understanding. Students, try to reply these questions. What was a communist society according to Karl Marx? Why the period after the success of French Revolution can be called as the age of social change? In what ways the working population in Russia different from other countries in Europe before 1917? How were socialist parties formed in various parts of the world? So students, this is today's part. Thank you.